you do not understand white supremacy, what it is, and how it works, everything else that you do understand will confuse you. In all of these 9 areas of activity, economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Anywhere on the planet, minute by minute, day by day, all of the time, all of the time, all of the time.
Well, good morning, and welcome to the January the 10th, 2023 edition of the CRCS, also known as the Counter-Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. I am your co-host, Mr. Bobby, and we thank you for listening or tuning in and listening. Thank you so much. We really appreciate that as we strive to be better and better and better, mistakes included, because we are all still learning. Thank you again for listening. And since you are listening, there are many questions on the board. So let me give you the contact number, 516-453-9921. Make sure you press the number 1 button, as John in Houston has and Corey in Milwaukee has. If you have a question, press that number 1 button and be sure to give your name to the call screener so that I can properly pronounce it. So please make sure that you do that. I would ask for this year, 2023, that when you do ask your questions, please be brief so that Mr. Fuller can understand what your question is and answer it. And please give him time to answer it, 1 question at a time. Please do that. Now, if you are a new caller or you have invited someone that is new to call into the show, we have a special setup for them that they can call in, and be sure to give the call screener your name and tell them that you are a first-time caller, and we have something fixed up for you right there. Now, you can also contact me via my Gmail. All you have to do is just type in the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, Bobby, at hotmail.com. I will get it, and I will give you my symbol to let you know that I have your question, and that at a future time your question will be read, and then I will let you know about that. And lastly, you can also join the chat room. All you have to do is go to blogtalkradio.com. Pardon me. And when you do that, you want to type in where it says programs, type in the Produced Justice Show, and you get that. And then when you do that, then the chat room is available. I think it's to the right unless they have moved it. But you click on that, and then you're able to get into the chat room. Now, when you're in there, I would ask, please, ma'am, please, sir, do not ask a question for me to ask Mr. Fuller. That's what the telephone line is, and we do give priority to the caller. The Gmails and even on this chat come last. So just use the line to ask your question on that. But occasionally I will select something that's very interesting in the chat room. Again, go to blogtalkradio.com, and you want to click on, again, the programs, and then there you go. Type in the Produced Justice Show, and then the chat comes up, and you're in. Okay, let's do this. Lost my page here. Listen to this. I just found out that Mr. Fuller was on the Carl Nelson Show, and I missed it too. Last Thursday, January the 5th, he was on the show, and I missed it. And I have to admit, when I got the news a few moments ago, I was very disappointed. But such is life. But I do intend on picking up the show after this program is over, because I really am still learning, and I'm very disappointed I missed it, but I'm going to get whatever information I can off that. But that was for last week, January the 5th, Mr. Fuller was on. So we do have it on our website at producejustice.com. I was told that this morning. So for those of you who missed it, you can join me in listening to the program. And I have to give this announcement. Here is simply this. Here we do strive to get better on this show. Really, we really do. It's not a joke when Mr. Fuller and myself say, we need to be better. It's not something that we're just arbitrarily saying. We really want to be better. So this is what we want you to do. If you have any comments, please, or feedback regarding the show, send a message to contact@producejustice.com. Let me repeat that again. contact@producejustice.com. Please do that. See, your feedback actually helps us to do better, as we are all still learning. Okay? So do that. Do that for us so that we can be better in what we attempt to do. Okay, I think that's all the house cleaning that I have to do right now. So let's get started with today's show. Thank you, Darnell, for chiming in, and thank you, Cleo, for giving your name. Okay, a lot of questions coming up here. Okay. Now let me introduce to some and present to others Mr. Neely Fuller, Jr., and we have just this small segment here, which is called The Thoughts and Expressions of the Mind of Neely Fuller, Jr. We will do that after I say this. Good morning, Mr. Fuller, and how are you?
Good morning. I'm still learning.
Yes, sir. Okay, Mr. Fuller, thoughts and expressions. What are your thoughts or expressions on this day, the 10th of January, 2023?
Well, I'm going to try to do this faster. That's one reason for saying that we're trying to get better. We're going to try to pick up the pace so that the callers can get right to the calls.
Yes, sir.
Because they have been waiting patiently. But I just like to start with just one thing, just asking the question, why? It would be in the form of a question that I'm thinking about, and I think most of the listeners should think about. Why haven't the smartest black people in the known universe solved the race problem? Just a simple question. Why haven't, past tense, the smartest black people in the known universe solved the race problem? We got a lot of black people, including Neely Fuller, Jr., who does a whole lot of talking about the race problem. Why haven't the smartest? Because a lot of black people like to sometimes come on this program and say how smart black people are. Well, among all of the black people on the planet, and there are a lot of black people on the planet, why haven't the smartest of the smart, of all the black people on the planet, solved the race problem by now? Just a simple question. Not condemning anybody, not blaming anybody, not exalting anybody, not putting black people down or up or sideways. Just answer the question. There's a reason why the race problem isn't solved. Why haven't the smartest of the black people solved it here in the year 2023? There is an answer to that question. Why hasn't that happened already? Race problem solved. Gone. That's my thought. In the form of a question, because all problems are solved through the process of questions and answers throughout all history. That's it. Now I'm ready to take questions.
Okay. Let's go to the phone lines, and let's go to John in Houston. John, good morning, and what is your question for Mr. Fuller?
Grand risings, gentlemen, because Houston, we have a problem. First, my VGQ for 2023, as we've watched the escapade, the shenanigans, and the performative art this past week, the manner in which the tail is wagging the dog. We've seen at least 10% of the 220 Republicans that are in control of the People's House, which sets the budget, gives money to programs, and is supposed to conduct our business. 22, thereabouts, shut down this activity for most of last week, the first week of 2023. I'll just let that statement hang out there, Mr. Bobby, for the moment. My specific question for the elder, and I'll attempt to answer his, I do have some suggestions I'll follow up maybe next week on why the smartest so-called black people haven't solved the race problem. But my question is segueing from the statement of my VGQ. To be on code as victims of white supremacy, according to the elder, and prisoners of war, what would be the suggestion on effective interaction with federal, state, and local government? And I'd like to stay on to hear the response, Mr. Bobby. Thank you for the time. And I don't know if to call it a Happy New Year. That's a misnomer in the middle of winter, isn't it?
Okay. Mr. Fuller?
I didn't quite get the core of the question.
John, could you
to be on code? To be on code, Mr. Bobby, Mr. Fuller, what would your suggestion be for prisoners of war interacting with federal, state, and local government going forward in 2023?
Okay. Codification. Just follow the code. Ask questions, get answers to questions. Ask what questions? How to solve a problem. Best way of going about solving any problem. That's the question. I just asked one. Why is it that the smartest black people on the planet Earth in 2023 have not solved the problem? Lots of black people elbow each other out of the way for the microphone, claiming directly or indirectly, I'm smart. Everybody shut up and listen to me. Well, why hasn't the smartest black people on the planet by now, whomever they are, solved the race problem by now? There's an answer. Somebody has an answer. If, some smart person has the answer. I'm trying to get smart. That's why I'm always saying I'm still learning. Lots of black people claim that they're already smart. And they definitely know how to handle a race problem. Practically say, that's easy. It's not easy for me. So let the dumb people, like Neely Fuller, stand aside and let the smart people solve the race problem. I'm not talking about sounding eloquent in talking about it. I'm talking about actually solving it. That's all.
Okay.
Now, it's the same way with an answer to the question. You just take all problems are solved through the process of questions and answers. So codification, which is what I just mentioned, is all about every problem that comes up. The code for solving that problem is somewhere in the universe. Just find out whatever the code is for solving whatever problem you're talking about. That's the procedure on a daily level. The race problem itself is solved by individual people. What they say and what they do and what they don't say and what they don't do on an everyday level in all of the areas of activity: economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Every time anything comes up, that's a problem in any one or more of those areas of activity. Just come up with the question and then the answer to the question for solving whatever problem you have that you're talking about. All problems are solved through the process of questions and answers. I just raised a question. I didn't give an answer. But the way to solve that problem, the race problem, is through questions and answers. All problems are solved through the process of questions and answers. That's codification. That's the first thing you can announce. And then start asking the questions and say, who has the answer? Who is the smart one? Nobody else talk. Everybody stand up. Whatever person usually comes in the form of one person. Who's going to be the smartest person to answer that question? Let the smartest person solve the problem. Whatever it is. Small one, large one, etc. That's the codified procedure. And you prove that you're the smartest person by solving the problem. So there's no arguments. You don't have to argue. Just let the smartest person solve the problem. And you'll know it's the smartest person because they solved the problem. That person. It's a no-brainer.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you, John, from Houston. From the chat room, Black to Deaf said this, Mr. Fuller, about that question. Why haven't the smartest black people solved the race problem? Black to Deaf said this, the master contradiction. The system of white supremacy is not easy to destroy because it produces most of the things most people enjoy. Neely Fuller Jr. This is why the smartest black people haven't solved the race problem. Okay. Corey, Milwaukee. You're on with Mr. Fuller. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Bobby. Good morning, Mr. Fuller. I wanted to ask you, Mr. Fuller, if you could explain for the individuals who don't have the textbooks how we should not be on automatic as the racial definition of being on automatic. And that's my question.
Could you repeat that again?
Be on automatic and the racial definition of automatic?
Of being on automatic in relation to the system of racism, white supremacy.
Well, what do you mean by we're being on automatic?
You've written that on automatic, use this term to apply to all of the effects that the system of white supremacy racism has on its victims by causing its victims to automatically say and do things again and again and again that do not produce constructive results.
Oh, well, because we're not producing constructive results. So we automatically keep doing the same things over and over again and getting the same non-constructive results. So it calls for being able to answer questions that will solve the problem that you're talking about, which is how we started off with this program. Ask the question and then say, okay, who has the solution? We're talking about a problem. Is something a problem? What is the problem? And identify the problem. Say, now, okay, who has the solution to that problem? That's it. It's all questions and answers. Not being eloquent. Not grabbing the microphone from someone else, something I've seen for much too long. Let me speak. Okay. Let you speak. But do you have the solution to the problem? And if you have the solution, why do we have the problem? We who are just stumbling and fumbling. Stumbling and fumbling should be off the agenda altogether. But just let me tell you how I feel about the problem. No more of that at all. No more taking up oceans of time with everybody wanting to express how they feel about the problem. Everybody may have a tendency to do that, or at least great numbers of people. But now, in the year 2023, we should be much more mature than that. There should be a sense of maximum urgency in solving the problem. Is anybody in this room of 2,000 people got a solution to any problem? Let that person come to the mic and say not how they're going to work on it, but say, hey, you people are assembled here, you're wasting your time. You don't need to. While you all were in here debating how to solve the problem, I went out into the lobby and I solved it. And I'm going to tell you how I did it, because it's already solved. When you leave here, don't think about it, because it's solved. I took care of it. Now, that's the kind of talk we should be training ourselves for. Otherwise, every last black person on this planet talking about the race problem should consider themselves super ignorant. And that's my codified response this morning.
Okay, codified response. All right, thank you, Corey. Let's go to Darnell, I believe it is. Darnell in New York. Let me see if I can get you in here. Okay, Darnell. Good morning. You're on with Mr. Fuller.
Good morning, Mr. Bobby. Good morning, Mr. Fuller.
Good morning, sir.
I wanted to ask Mr. Fuller, according to the code, how is it possible that the system of white supremacy is able to systematically freeze?
How is what now?
The system? How is it able to praise certain non-white people and systematically oppress others?
You're coming in kind of broken up.
Darnell, we can't hear you. We can't hear you too well. You're low. Hello? Hey, Darnell,
yeah.
We can't hear you. I'll tell you what.
Is it better now?
Yeah, okay, it's better now. Go ahead.
All right. Yeah, because I had a headset in. I was asking Mr. Fuller, how is it that the system is able to systematically oppress segments of non-white people and praise other segments simultaneously?
I didn't get that question at all. I don't know if anybody else understands the question.
There's some background noise in there also. Darnell, if it's possible, could you eliminate that background noise and ask her a question so that Mr. Fuller can hear it and then answer appropriately?
I can control the background noise.
Okay. Try to ask your question again so that Mr. Fuller could understand it then.
Slowly.
Okay.
Because there's interference from the background.
Okay. The question is, how is the system of white supremacy able...
How is the system
of white supremacy able to oppress?
Able to do what?
Yes. Oppress.
And what's that last word?
Oppress.
Able to oppress. How is the system of white supremacy able to oppress?
Yes. Certain portions of the population of non-whites, and at the same time praise other segments.
Because they just do it. You mean a white supremacist can get some black people, can praise some black people, some black people to praise some black people, and other black people do not praise some black people. Is that what that question is? Your question seems to be kind of convoluted. But is that what the question is?
Yes.
Because they're the smartest people on the planet, according to the conclusions that Neely Fuller has come to. They can work and jerk black people around any kind of way. That's why they're white supremacists. A lot of black people called in on this program and say they don't like that term. Don't give them that kind of credit. I'm not giving them anything. I'm recognizing what they got. Unless the evidence shows different. And the evidence is not showing different. Because to say it any other way is to say that white supremacy does not exist, which means this program should not exist. If white supremacy doesn't exist, this produced justice program, this talking about white supremacy, why talk about something that doesn't exist? And then going further than that, saying that it's a problem. Most black people will say there is a problem, but it's not white supremacy. Some black people will interject that. Well, we've got a problem, but it's not white supremacy because there ain't no such thing as white supremacy. Well, then what is the problem? Well, the problem is racism. Well, what is racism? Racism is something out there that's harming black people, but it ain't got nothing to do with white folks. It definitely ain't got nothing to do with white people being supreme, because they ain't supreme. Well, what's the problem if that's the case? Well, the problem is that's how I feel about it. And these are the kind of answers that I get when I ask questions. Because I'm trying to find solutions to problems. But I'm hearing sometimes some people call in on this show and practically wind up after much talk saying that there is no problem. Because that's where that leads. When you say nobody's causing the problem,
Okay. All righty. Cleo from Houston, thank you for your call. Let's break it off here. You're listening to the Counter Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. and we thank you for all of your listenership. Today being the 10th of January, 2023, we would like for you to call in, as many are on the line now. But for those of you who have just tuned in, call this number if you want to be a participant on the program or ask Mr. Fuller a question. The number is 516-453-9921. Press the number 1 button and give the call screener your name, and when your time comes up, you will be heard. If you are a new caller, be sure to indicate to the call screener that you are a new caller. You can also Gmail me at the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, BOBBY, @gmail.com, and I would be happy to let you know that I received your Gmail with a symbol, and it will be read at a certain time, not today, but at a certain time, and I will let you know. You can also join the chat room. All you have to do is go to blogtalkradio.com, and when you do that, you want to enter in where it says programs. When you do that, then the Produce Justice Show will come up. You hit that, and then the bar for the chat room is there, and you can do that, and that'll be really, really good. And you can join the chat, and occasionally I will give you some information, and you can do your thing or read your chat. Got to make this announcement. Listen, we would like for you to be able to. I did erase that, so I need to get that back. But we would like for you to give your feedback. That's important to us because we are really trying to be better. We are trying to be better, and I'm hunting for what I just erased. But basically, all you have to do is, and Robert, could you send that to me again because I accidentally erased it. But what we would like for you to do is we want to make the show better. We really do. And so that's why we are appreciating your feedback. And I think you have to go to contact@producejustice.com. I think that's it. And leave your feedback, and so that we can attempt to make improvements on the show so that we can be better. Mr. Fuller, even today, is trying to speed up his responses so that we can get more questions in. That's one of the improvements that he's trying to make. And there's others with me or whatever so that we can be better. Okay, and then this right here, for those of you who missed it, and I'm in that group, Mr. Fuller was on the Carl Nelson Show January the 5th, 2023. I didn't know that, but I missed it. But I do plan on picking it up. But for those of you who missed it also, we do have it on our website at producejustice.com, and you can pick up Mr. Fuller's interview by Carl Nelson. You can pick that up. It's on there. Okay. I believe I stumbled through that one. I sure did. I don't like that, but that's the way that it is. Okay, let me see here if I can get back to. Okay, thank you, Robert. Thank you. Okay, let's do this. Mr. Fuller has written some books, or a book that you need to have in your collection. I have mine right here. It's a United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept. Now, you need this book. I have it right here in case someone asks a question or different things that we can refer to the book, page numbers. It's a guide. It's a code, and it's designed to help us to understand. Mr. Fuller, what is this book for, so that people who are new to the show can understand what you did with this book and why it is in publication?
Well, I tried to write a book that's designed to tell an individual person, a non-white person, a black person, a person of color, how to maneuver through the system of white supremacy on a daily basis in all 9 areas of activity, and I make suggestions. They're just suggestions because nobody has yet figured out how to replace the system of white supremacy with the system of justice. But the theory is that no organization in the traditional sense can do it, or a collection of organizations, quote unquote, whatever that means, but certainly not in the traditional form, because we have had what we call organizations, and none of them collectively have solved the race problem. So we maybe need to try something different. That's the approach that you get in this book. And it's the unity, codified unity. Unite not around an organization or an individual leader or a collection of individual leaders, but to make each individual person an individual leader who relies on not another person, but relies on a code of thought, speech, and action, and that the white supremacists will not be able to defeat it. That's the theory. In other words, each person becomes an organization within him or herself, rather than millions of people trying to get into an organization or form an organization or a conglomeration of quote-unquote organizations and have meeting places and talk back and forth among themselves ad infinitum, when everybody can look at a code of thought, speech, and action that will consist mostly of questions and answers, because the theory is all problems are solved through the process of questions and answers. And if each individual person has a code where you get a question and you're given an answer, then that individual person has the question, the individual person presented with the question that is in the form of a problem, whatever the problem is for that particular day or that particular occasion, and that person can go to a book and get the answer or get some idea about finding the road to the answer. An individual book that tells that person, not a committee of persons. You don't have to consult anybody. Just consult the book. And the book gives you an idea of what the answer may be, like working a crossword puzzle. And then that person, without consulting anybody, without asking anybody anything, except that body being themselves, and they solved that problem. The problem came in the form of a question, like problems do. How do I solve this? How do I solve that? In economics, in education, in entertainment, in sex. I have a problem in religion. I'll go to this textbook and see if I can get an idea of how to solve that problem. So you turn to the page that throws out some ideas of how to go about solving the problem. And you ask yourself questions, and you come up with an answer. Maybe an answer that's suggested in the guidebook, or one that you come up with on your own after consulting the guidebook. Because the guidebook is limited. And that's what this theory is about. and use of a code. Everything that works has a code. It's just a matter of finding out what the code is.
Okay.
And it's available to everybody in the universe if they want to solve a problem. I mean a code, meaning since everything has a code, that's available to every person in the universe. You just find out what the code says, what works and what doesn't. Whatever works has a code that makes it work.
Yes, sir.
You just find out what that code is. You don't have to consult anybody, except you might have to consult a whole lot of people, but you first have to know what you're looking for. Every question has an answer. It's a matter of finding out where it is.
Yes, sir.
You can get this book by going to producejustice.com.
Yes, sir.
That's what I've tried to write. An individual code, tailored to the individual person.
All righty, producejustice.com. Thank you, Mr. Fuller. And Cleo from Houston, I did get your message, so I will get you in here. By the way, when you call in, this last caller, don't forget to give the call screener your name so that I can properly give you the introduction. Gmail here. This has no name. This is Mr. Fuller. And is the past few years I've noticed, I guess he meant to put in the past few years I've noticed that a lot of black men are murdering their black girlfriends at an alarming rate. Should black men and black women separate from each other?
No. They should understand what they should be doing on the planet. Killing each other is not what they should be doing. So they can find out, first of all, what? Through the logical process. Why am I doing what I'm doing? Start with that question. That's what a judge asks. In the system of white supremacy, white people are usually the judges, or they have a black person acting as a judge after they tell that black person what to do in the system of white supremacy. So you wind up in front of a judge if you did the killing and they caught you. They ask questions in a court of law. All problems are solved through the process of questions and answers. They called it motive. All right, sir, why did you kill her? I'll listen to your story. I'll sit there and put my feet up on the desk. And I'll listen for you plead for mercy, because you didn't give her none. You killed her. She's here. She's not here, rather. And you're here explaining why you did it. Okay, explain to me why you killed her. I'll listen, and then I'll determine what I'm going to do to you. Because maybe you didn't think about that when you were doing all that killing. That what happens when your turn comes to answer to somebody who says, you don't kill nobody without my permission. And I didn't give you permission to kill her. So now you got to answer to me. All right, so what's your answer?
Okay.
And that's what happens. So black people who are out here doing this killing should say, why am I doing it? And what's going to be the constructive result of me doing it? Because am I going to tell someone who comes and say, did you kill this female? Because you got the answer to me now. Now, what's your answer going to be to that person that asked that question? Think about that before you do the killing. What's going to be your answer to the person who is more powerful than you, that you are going to have to hat in hand, plead for mercy when you didn't show none. Now, the code says, for one thing, in answer to the question, you don't own anybody if you're black. So whatever kind of dispute you have with a black female, of all people, you don't own her. I don't care what kind of papers you got to say that you do. She's owned by somebody white in 2023, and I'm going to say that again. All black people, I'll do it that way, are owned by the white supremacists in the year 2023. So that's who you're going to have to answer to. When you, well, I'm a killer. I mean, she ain't pleasing me, or she did this, and she spent all my money, or she burned the house down, or she got another man. I don't care what your beef is. You don't own her. Black person, I don't care if you got several wives, so-called. You're in a place where the white supremacists allow you to have that. They allow you to have that. Because they can stop that if they want to. But they do allow that in some parts of the world. But if you have to directly or indirectly answer to them after you do anything to them, you think about it that you are not in charge of anything or anybody, including yourself. That's what white supremacy means. So I'm saying black males get angry about their situation, and they have a tendency to take it on, truth be told, take it out on whoever is weaker than we are as black males. That's the truth. That's why we kill each other. That's why the young black males out here slaughtering each other on the school grounds and everywhere else, or the after school, or in the subways. And we are standing around with question marks over our head about why they are doing it. That's just some of white supremacy. They engineered all of that. They're in charge of all of that. You're not in charge of nothing. See, well, I didn't raise my kid to do that. You didn't raise. But who raised you? And who limited you to tell what you call your child what to do? The white supremacists tell you through all of their media. Not only that, they tell your child what they are going to do. The white supremacists already know that black people are going to kill black people. Mm-hmm. Why? Because they set it up that way. And that's going to continue until you challenge the white supremacists to put a stop to it, or at least ask them, because that's where the problem is. Your children are not your children. Get that straight. They're white people's children. Every black child on this planet. And I am a black child. And the white supremacists are my illegitimate parents. I'm talking about Neely, person doing this talking right now. Now, that's the bottom line. I got parents, but the people that I call my parents are not my functional parents. The white supremacists became my parents before I was born.
Yes, sir.
Because they were telling my parents what to do and what they can't do and what they better not do.
All righty. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Fuller. Okay, Cleo, here we go. We got you queued in. Cleo from Houston, you're on with Mr. Fuller. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Long live NFJ and forever live Logic. As always, my sincere thanks and appreciation to you, Mr. Bobby, and to Robert, Sharon, and Moonpie for your kicking off this year, 2023, with your continued partnership with Mr. Fuller in this very important life work. Mr. Fuller, given the pomp and circumstance surrounding funerals, what were your thoughts when writing the quote located at the bottom of the page 428 in the 2016 revised expanded edition of your book? The quote says, "A dead body should be disposed of in a manner that is the most simple and the most efficient." Does this quote denote cremation without memorialization?
Well, it just means exactly what it says. Just do it in the sense. All people do not have the same circumstances. So you take into consideration your circumstances. Some people want to have a 70-day funeral where everybody quits their jobs and everything and come to the funeral. And some funerals are conducted in such a way that you mourn around the casket, sometimes for several days, and then you have a celebration afterwards. You toot horns, and you strut up and down the street, and have drums and whistles, and play clarinets right after the funeral, leaving the funeral ceremony. I've heard of that. And then some people, like myself, I believe in person is dead. Doesn't call for anything except for recognizing that the person is dead. That's what I want done for me. You recognize the person was here, now the person is dead. What's the ceremony for? But that's just me. That is a suggestion, like everything in the code book. Keep it simple. So what do you do with a dead person? You expedite if that's your choice. Or you can haul the body around from city to city, maybe every city on the planet, and have people line up for hours, like some people do, or for days, or to just follow the dead body around for a year. Just pass it around. We want everybody to see the body, or everybody to see a box that the body is in. And for whatever purpose you say you're doing it for, because you're doing it for a purpose. Presumably, the person in that box, if the body is in a box, sometimes the body is not. Sometimes the body is just out there for everybody to see. Now, why are you having these ceremonies? That's the question. Some people say we call it remembrance. Well, everybody forgets. It may take a long time. Say, well, I want people to remember this at least for 2,000 years. So I'm going to have a ceremony appropriate for people to remember for 2,000 years. So you do that if that's what you want. The person is dead. Now it comes down to what do you want with this dead body? You should want whatever the person wanted. If you're going to be involved with that person. But I just use myself as an example. I just say, keep it simple and expedite. Fast as you can. Keep it simple. Whatever it is, keep it simple. Keep it functional. Don't burden people down for sure. Don't make it a burden for anybody. If anybody gets burdened by this, I mean, they are dissatisfying me about what I want. Everybody has wants. I'm just talking about what I want. And get back to doing the things that needs to be done that will cause people to live longer than they ordinarily would. Live longer than Neely Fuller. Get back to figuring out how to do that. How to keep the people who are alive longer. If you really want to do something, not have a big shouting ceremony after they're dead at age 14. Figure out how to prevent that rather than how big the funeral is going to be. Planning the funeral of a 10-year-old, and the 10-year-old ain't even got to be 10 years old yet. But you planning the funeral because you have that type of society that have 10-year-old funerals. That's what we're nurturing now. Funerals for 10-year-olds. How about that thought?
What a thought. Okay.
I hope that
Cleo
answers the question.
Mm-hmm. All right. Cleo, thank you, and thank you for holding. Sorry that you were disconnected or whatever happened, but thank you for calling back in, and we did get you back up in there. Okay. All righty. Here, let's do this here. Get back to where we need to be. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. Okay. We started out, we're getting ready to close this first hour. We started out with Mr. Fuller talking about, he asked a question, which was, why haven't the smartest black people solve the race problem? That's what we started, that's what his thoughts he expressed today. Keep that in mind. There's been several comments made on the chat. And it's something that you should think about, or would like to think about. He would like for you to maybe have a thought or express your thought. And you can do that when you call this number, 516-453-9921. We're going to close out the first hour of the show here in 2023. We have about 2 minutes. So, Mr. Fuller, I'm going to give you 1 minute of the 2 minutes that we have remaining on the show. So what would you like to say before we close out the first hour?
Just that people think about what's been talked about in the first hour as we move into the second hour. And in the meantime, just finger through the textbook for victims of white supremacy every now and then and see if you can pick up a thought that will help you to solve a problem. Because every time a black person solves a problem in the most constructive manner, you are, by doing that, destroying the system of white supremacy. I'm going to repeat that again. Every time a black and person, a person of color, black, brown, red, yellow, solves a problem that produces a constructive result, that person, by having done so, is doing a great service to replacing the system of white supremacy with the system of justice.
Okay.
That is a guarantee.
Guarantee. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Solving a problem in a manner that produces a constructive result. That's all you have to do daily.
Mm-hmm.
Just solve a couple of problems that produce constructive results. You are tearing the system of white supremacy apart. Because the black person is never supposed to solve a problem of any kind.
All righty. Thank you, Mr. Fuller. For those of you who have to go, we thank you for listening to the first hour, and we hope to do better for you next week. But for those of you that are going to stay, stick and stay. Do not go away because we have another hour that's going to commence in about 5 seconds. Thank you. All righty. Thank you, and welcome back to the second hour of the Counter Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. I am your co-host, Mr. Bobby. To get in contact with the show, and we would like for you to be a participant, call this number 516-453-9921. Make sure you press the number 1 button so that you can be heard, and give the call screener your name. Now, if you are a new caller, please make sure that you tell the call screener that you are a new caller, and you will be expedited or put in a situation where you can be heard. So could you do that? All righty. You can also contact me by using the Gmail if you would like, and that is the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, BOBBY, @gmail.com. And when I get it, I will give you a symbol to let you know that I have received it, and at some other time, your Gmail will be read. And lastly, you can do this. You can join the chat room. All you have to do is go to blogtalkradio.com. And when you do that, you want to click on where it says programs, and then click where you can rustle up the Produce Justice show. You click that on, and then I believe it's at the right-hand side. I haven't been on there for a minute, but to the right, there's a place for the chat. Right there, you click that, and you're in the chat room, and you can join the chat as there are many that are on there, and occasionally I will select something that someone has written. Okay, Mr. Fuller started off the first hour by saying, why haven't the smartest black people solved the race problem? That's been the thought today that was on his mind. And we've had a few feedbacks, from that, and would like even more. Again, why haven't the smartest black people solved the race problem? And, 2 more announcements. Mr. Fuller was on the Carl Nelson Show January the 5th. He was on there. I didn't get that, but I understand this morning that he was on there. So ProduceJustice.com, that interview that Mr. Fuller had on the Carl Nelson Show is available at ProduceJustice.com, so you can pick that up. So please do, because that's what we like, more learning experience with Mr. Fuller. And finally, listen, this is very important because we are definitely trying to do better. If you have any comments or feedback regarding the show, positive, negative, whatever, just send it. Send the message to contact@ProduceJustice.com. Why? Because your feedback helps us to do better as we are all still learning. Now, that's serious. This is not a joke. We want to do better. We want to be the very, very best. When I was coming up, somebody told me, good, better, best. Never let it rest to your good is gooder and your best is best. I like that. Anyway, but yeah, you have any comment, it doesn't matter what it is, because we strive to do better. Send it to contact@ProduceJustice.com. Okay, all books and materials can be gotten at ProduceJustice.com, so you want to make sure you do that. Okay, let's see who's up in here. Okay, AJ from Chesapeake. I guess you're up. So let me get you in here, AJ. Okay, AJ, you're on with Mr. Fuller. Good morning.
Yes, constructive greetings to you both on top of the new calendar year. I have a question for Mr. Fuller, but then it's going to lead to a VGQ, I believe. Mr. Fuller, were you remember First World Alliance when it first started? I understand that you took part, but it was before it was in the nave of the church, but it was in the basement of the church. Was that true?
That what now?
The First World Alliance that existed on 145th Street and Convent Avenue in Harlem back in the day, before it went up to the nave of the church, the main hall. It had a meeting down in the basement of the church. Were you a part of a meeting down there one time?
Was I a part of that meeting?
Yes.
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
No, not. Was my name mentioned or something connected with that?
Yes. When First World Alliance first started, somebody had told me that you were involved. It was a lecture series, but instead of being, but it started in the basement of the church before it moved up until the main hall of the church. I was just asking, do you remember any of that?
No, I don't. I don't remember. I don't recall any of that. I don't recall.
No worries.
No. They may have.
Okay, we don't have to get stuck on that, right? Let me just go to a VGQ then. I'm in possession of the original 1984 book, the larger format. I'm not talking about the revised format. The original format.
1984.
Yes, okay. It's a bigger format, right?
Yeah.
Now, what happened? That book was gifted to me. I took the book to South Africa, and I had it rebound, the cover rebound at a place called Lovedale Press, which was in charge of all of the writings of the ANC when they were in the bad old days of apartheid. Then that same book that was rebound is now with me in a place called Dimbaza in South Africa. Now, what we're doing with that book is, because it's a one-of-a-kind book, we're using it as scripture, So when I say scripture, I mean that we use it. We just read something from it, and we don't necessarily talk about it, but we just let it go. We just let it go on. We just go on. But we use it because the way we're using it is that because I'm working with some people that are of a different culture, of the Isixhosa culture. It's a different language. So what happens to read that book? I will read it in English, and then someone will be next to me, and they will interpret. They will then give the language, the Xhosa language of that what I just read. Now, then when that's recorded, and what will happen is that will then go out on Facebook to the people who speak Xhosa, so they will hear it in Xhosa, right? So I think that's the way of spreading the word, if you will. So because people relate to their mother tongue more than they may relate to another language. Okay, so that's one thing the book is doing. Now I'm going to go because I don't want to take up too much of people's time, and I'm actually going to be leaving for South Africa in a couple of days. But I can't leave without pressing another point. Again, I'm the person that keeps on trying to have you understand that your basic book is your basic book. That's fine. But as you continue to make notes on that basic book and have more notes, I would like you to put out another book, what I call a coffee table book, a very expensive book. You can still have your regular book that you're trying to get everybody to have, but you can have another edition, an expensive edition that you can raise money with. And then raising that money will help you to support me making other books, making it available to other people, or whatever it is. But a coffee table book is very important to some people like me who collect books. Do you understand?
Yes, sir. That is.
Okay.
There are several people who are looking into that. I'm trying to improve the book at all times. I say it's one of the worst written books ever made, but it's one of the best of the worst. And I'm trying to improve the book. The book, that was a rush job in 1984, and it was a rush job in 2016 and in 2010. I was just desperate to get something out there, other than just the sound of my voice, which was not comprehensive enough. I want something in writing, and I'm still in that type of situation because I'm totally self-supporting in doing this. I have Dr. Wilson gave me my first big boost, and but as far as the handling of the book is concerned, it's just a one-person operation, big time, full time, just me, and I'm worn out. I'm all over the place, but I've tried to center my attention. But the book is poorly put together, and by my own estimate, and I have to go on the air like I'm doing now, trying to interpret things and all like that. That shouldn't have to be. The book should be much better written than that. But what you are doing is great, and a great big help. It's a great big boost. I mean, if you're getting people to understand in their language what is being said and translating those ideas and whatnot, and so, but I'm trying to do the best that I can.
Okay.
And I know that it's not good enough. Good enough means this problem is solved. That's when it's good enough. And I think, and that's a part of the code. I mean, for everybody, as far as that's just my viewpoint. Good enough. It's only when the problem is solved. So if you haven't solved the problem, you're not good enough. Okay? Not yet. You're just trying to get to the first grade or finish the first grade of counter-racism. And so that's where I am, right in the first grade.
Yes, sir. AJ, thank you, and safe travels to South Africa. Tell Brother Sloan down there in South Africa that I said hello. He sends a lot of communication. Thank you, AJ, and don't be a stranger. Let's keep it going. Joe in Harlem. Get ready, Joe. I'm getting ready to cue you in here. Wait a minute. Okay, Joe, you're on with Mr. Fuller. What is your question?
Hey, good morning, Mr. Fuller. Good morning, Mr. Bobby.
Yes, sir.
So my question is it true, Mr. Fuller, that the ultimate purpose for the compensatory code is to get the most powerful white people who are able to practice racism and white supremacy to either practice justice or kill us all? If so, why is that the purpose?
Because that's where we're going to find out to go anyway. Either we get justice or we'll die. Or we're just going to keep stirring that same old stale pot of non-justice and grumbling about how we don't like being in a system of racism or any other kind of non-just world. Just keep grumbling about it and coming up with different styles of grumbling, which is what we're doing now. We're treading water. We're not going anywhere. The system of racism is in place. Black people are dying by the millions, killing each other with the white supremacist sponsorship. Turn on your TV any time of day or night. Wherever you find dark people, you find misery. And even when dark people have billions of dollars, you find what? Misery. You find minds that are all messed up. A person's mind is a part of a person's body. We shouldn't have no messed up minds. We got messed up minds and messed up bodies everywhere, and it's all mess. Even the very best is mess. The very best according to what? A person might ask. According to the way it ought to be. We're all messed up. Nobody can take a bow and claim that they have arrived. Nobody black. Nobody of color. We are nowhere near the arrival gate. Nowhere near. By what measure, Fuller? By the measure of logic. By the measure of what could be. What should be. Just from my imagination of what should be. We're nowhere near that neighborhood. Nowhere near. That's why when you see a black person talking about how well we are doing, according to what standard? The standard hasn't even been set. So how can anybody say we're doing well? But we've kind of been trained. I mean, you call in on a radio program and somebody says, well, how you doing today? Well, I'm doing great, man. You're what? I say I'm still learning, and even that's inadequate. We're pitiful. All of us, black and white, on this planet, the way we're conducting ourselves, even with all the modern technology and all the nonstop talking back and forth all day long, getting in touch with each other, talking about how great we are. We're nowhere near that. White people are nowhere near, because they're the biggest promoters of that idea. No, you haven't. With all this slaughter, with people killing each other, and you glorify the killing in your movies and your songs, and got black people doing the same thing, this is an awful situation by any measure.
All righty. All right, Joe in Harlem, thank you very much. I don't recognize this, but hey, Joe, don't be a stranger, and thank you for your call. One of the things that is prominent in the chat room, and you need your book for this, but you can go to producejustice.com, the 10 Stops. Now, anything that Mr. Fuller has in the book are suggestions. You have to keep that in mind. They are suggestions. And this was mentioned in there, 10 behaviors referred to by the code as the 10 stops. Get the book. That's in one of the areas. Get the book by going to producejustice.com and learn about the 10 stops. We're still learning. We're all still learning. SWA, L.A., you are on with Mr. Fuller.
Greetings, Mr. Bobby. Greetings, Mr. Neely Fuller Jr.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., have white people taught non-white people to worship them as if they are gods or something?
Well, according to the evidence, yes. That's a straight-up question, straight-up answer. That's what codification is all about. Yes. And do we worship them? That's another question can be asked. Yes. I mean, you even got the males trying to wear long blonde hair. Black males. That's the standard of whiteness, even when it comes to how people should look. It's a white standard. You see people who are called Asians, who have, many of them, most of them, have very, very, very light skin. You might say white in a lot of places and a lot of individuals. But you see them do things like go and have operations where they have what they call round eyes. And they come out smiling. Do I look like I am like a Westerner? That's the way they'll put it. Meaning, they're not talking about it looking like a direction. No, you're trying to look like somebody who's white, right? Yeah.
All righty. All right, SWA. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I mentioned my brother from South Africa, Anthony Sloan, always sending me stuff, but he said that there's something that you can watch on YouTube. Says it's called the endocrine disruptors, common chemicals that severely alter your hormones, by Dr. Shauna Swan. It's on YouTube. Anyway, I said I would give him a mention. Mr. Fuller, before I go to Joy in Minnesota, did you mention something maybe in a few shows ago about the word fair was related to being white?
Yes. When you look up the word justice, you see the word fair in there. And fair is not spelled anywhere close. The spelling of the two words, justice and fair, it's not anywhere close. So how did fair get associated with justice? The white supremacists are the usual suspects. Because what does fair mean? Fair means white. Fair means light. And then they'll say, oh, fair play. meaning white play, meaning, oh, that's associated with treating people correctly. Yeah, fair play. Treat me fairly. Treat me whitely. See, they associate everything that's supposed to be of constructive value with white. Everything that's associated with something dangerous or something that should not be, maybe should not even exist, and that is what? Dark. Not just black, but the word dark. Dark day. Dark mood. Darth Vader. Darth Vader, Dark Invader. That's what that hints at.
Mm-hmm.
If you're talking about an invader, somebody who's going to invade your house invasion, put dark in front of it.
Okay.
Or just dress it up for a movie and call it Darth Vader. And then make the character dark and mysterious and someone who's bringing disaster. But fair? Oh, treat me fairly. My fair lady, meaning beautiful lady. Oh, my lady fair. You know, beautiful, intelligent. You don't bring no dark-skinned female in here. I mean, you ain't treating me fairly doing that. You insulted me. Get out of my presence until after dark. I sneak around to the back door. Slave cow.
Okay. Wow. Joy, Minnesota, coming up. You are on with Mr. Fuller. Good morning. There you go. Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, my question. Good morning, Mr. Bobby. Good morning, Mr. Fuller. My question is, so in the code book, Mr. Fuller talks a lot about the challenges of black relationships and how it can sometimes be a struggle. I guess the question that I have is, do we expect to see more divorces and separations between black people, or should they stay together and struggle and be there even if the relationship is detrimental?
The white supremacists always want nothing but conflict between a black male and a black female. If there's going to be any kind of harmony, it's going to be between a black male and a white woman. I say black male and a white woman. I didn't say black man, because no way for a black male to ever be a man in the system of white supremacy. It ain't going to happen. According to Neely Fuller, no. According to logic, we'll always be boys. I'm a boy, no matter how old I get, or who I think I know, or what I think I know. When you're made a prisoner of war, you're reduced to a childlike status. So black males and black females will only get along according to the rules of the white supremacists in order to serve the system of white supremacy. Otherwise, they're not going to get along. They're going to be in disharmony. They're going to mistreat each other. That's a given. That's a given.
That's a given.
I mean, it's that's not going to change.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll wax and wane. Sometimes it'll be worse than others. But it's just making do. Because we're prisoners of war. we are slaves to the system of white supremacy. Slavery did not end. It's all different kinds of slavery. But racist slavery is the worst kind of slavery ever to appear among the people of planet Earth in recorded history. It's the worst type of slavery. There are many different types of slavery.
Ready? Joy from Minnesota, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your call. Mr. Fuller, I have, before we break it off here, a question from the Gmails. Anonymous wanted to know, I want to know if there is a difference between racism between non-whites versus white supremacy. The reason I'm asking this is that I don't know how to categorize a potential racist who is from the Indian subcontinent who I just dealt with because of not having enough money to pay to this person, even though the establishment I went to also has one black Caribbean African person who is also an employee there. Also, I want to know where I can get a new version of both the newer edition of the Code Book 2010, along with the Word Guide on Amazon, because I don't have access to a credit card. Okay, that was the end. But he wanted to know, is there a difference? I'm sorry, go ahead, Mr. Fuller.
Yes, go to producejustice.com.
Okay.
And it should be posted there where the book is available, where somewhere in stores. I think it's two, one in Chicago. I forget the name of it. It keeps slipping my mind.
Yes, sir.
And maybe out of Baltimore, it might be a store there. But you can get somebody to get it for you and reimburse you, because Produce Justice is the only one I'm familiar with. I can really say that .com.
Yeah, producejustice.com.
That's the only way.
That's right. That's right.
But I will make a compensatory suggestion that a person probably can have, if you don't have the credit card, because I think that's how you have to get it.
Yes, sir.
Because that's the way it's set up. And a person you can have somebody get it for you. But go producejustice.com. That's definitely where I know that you can get it.
No doubt. Okay, in answer to the question, he says, is there a difference? I want to know if there's a difference between racism between non-whites versus white supremacy.
No. White supremacy is the only form of racism. So if some non-white person is mistreating another non-white person, that's called mistreatment. That's not racism, even though it may look like it on the surface. Black people would mistreat each other all the time. And they mistreat each other, black people, because they're black. All right? We practically brag about it. In the old days, we used the N-word. We'd get ready to kill another black person, just like we're white. Negro, but it would be the other word, not Negro. I'll kill you, Negro. I'll kill you, Negro. I'll kill your Negro mama. And then they'll proceed to do it. Some of us still do it, using the N-word. We're making it very clear. And it's one black person killing another black person, and putting the white emphasis on it. Yeah, this is what white folks taught me, and I'm going to do a job on you the way that they do it. This is the genuine stuff. I can do what they do, and I'm doing it because you need to be dead, somebody looking like you and acting like you, particularly the way I'm concerned, because I'm mad at you right now, and I'm going to do away with you because this is what white folks do with all of us, and I'm going to show that I can do it too. The black people are out here doing that right now. That's what they're saying. The black people. You don't have to get somebody with a turban on who is from some other place. No. Look at what we do with each other every day and look forward to doing it. Train ourselves to doing it. Thinking about doing it while we're still in high school. That's the only plans we have after high school. And if we drop out, we're going to do it even sooner. And if you ask us about any plans we have for the future, that's it. I'm going to kill me a what? N-word.
N-word, yeah.
And that's why I'm buying this gun. I know who I'm going to kill. I already got their names. That's us. Here in 2023, worldwide.
All
we
right.
know it. The white supremacists certainly know it, and they're laughing all the way to the bank.
All the way. All right. Thank you, Mr. Fuller. Coming up next as we go to break. Coming up next, we got Nicole in Maryland, George in Toronto, Anthony in Buffalo, and looks like George in New York. We're going to try to get you all in. You're listening to the Counter-Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller, Jr. And if you would like to get in contact with the show, call this number, 516-453-9921. You know the drill. Press the number 1 button and make sure that you give the call screener your name so that you can be heard. You can also just, if you want to listen to the show, you can just listen to the show. You can also Gmail me, as this person just did, at the numero 7, Mr. Bobby, B-O-B-B-Y, at gmail.com. And I will send you a symbol that I have it, and it will be read at an appropriate time, probably not today. You can also join the chat room, and the chat room has been humming. Whoa, it's been humming. Woo, my goodness. All you have to do is go to blogtalkradio.com. You want to click on where it says programs, and then when you do that, then the Produce Justice show will come up. Hit that bad boy, and then the chat room will become available to you, and you can get in there and get with them. And they are getting it on the good foot. Trust me, good foot. So you want to do that. Let's see here. Whoops, my screen went black again. So that's something when you try to multitask. But anyway, listen to this. This is for those who have already listened to, but we have new callers in. And listen, we are really striving to do better. We really are. And that's why we really want your comments. It doesn't matter, because we want to get better. Now, all we're asking, if you have any comments or feedback regarding the show, we want you to send a message to contact@producejustice.com. Contact@producejustice.com. Your feedback helps us to do better, as we are all still learning. You notice that at the end of almost every show, Mr. Fuller and myself always said we want to get better. That's not just something that we're saying. We really do. We want to get better. And one way to get better is to solicit your comments so that we can help make this show the very, very best, because we're still learning. We are still. So please, ma'am, please, sir, anything that you can think of that will help us do better, just send the comments in at contact@producejustice.com. justice.com. That's at contact at producejustice.com. And one more thing, for those of you who missed it, and I did too, I missed it, January the 5th, which is past, last Thursday, Mr. Fuller was on with Carl Nelson. But thank God for Robert and Moon Pie and Sharon and all the other people who I don't know. Maybe one day I will get to meet them, particularly if I fly into D.C. Anyway, they have it up on our website at producejustice.com. Producejustice.com. It's on there, and I'm going to be on it, or at least I plan on being on it after the show. But if you missed it, pick it up and hear what Mr. Fuller has to say, or had to say to Mr. Carl Nelson. Some people don't like for me to say that, but I'm not in competition with Carl Nelson. I like the show. I like the brother. So I don't have any problem with that, but some people don't like that. But anyway, Mr. Fuller is on there at the Carl Nelson Show, and we have it at producejustice.com. That's at producejustice.com and the Carl Nelson Show. Okay, I think that's it. Okay. All righty. I think I'm missing something, but anyway. Hey, Nicole, get ready, Nicole. Get ready. You've waited patiently for a long time, and here we go. Go ahead, Nicole.
Good morning, Mr. Fuller. Good morning, Mr. Bobby. I'm kind of frustrated today, so I'm glad that y'all said today was kind of a freestyle Tuesday.
Yes, ma'am.
It's just sad, and I respect Neely Fuller for that one caller that was trying to use his education to trip Mr. Fuller up on his own commentary of talking. So I'm glad that he expressed his opinion and said he wrote both of them in their hair, because sometimes when ideas come to your mind at a light speed, you have to get them out into the atmosphere so that it can be effective. So my own comment for myself today is, my hair was growing so well. When I got that blunt trauma to my head, my hair fell out. But it's just sad that how political powers to secure their future of retirement if they get $1 million contract from a corporation, they'll use $10,000 of that to pay people to put pressures in your neighborhoods. I'm just so pressured today. I'm glad that I still have the courage to tune in, to stay on my right path no matter what is being thrown at me, because the truth of the matter is I went to college, I'm an ex-gang member, and I sacrificed a lot. My brother reminded me of who I hung with, because I blocked all that out, because I didn't want to be one of the politicians that take backdoor contracts and not save a whole generation of people and just save a sector of a people. So, again, I'm yielding. I miss Dr. Wilsing and a lot of other older people that was training me well between 1996 on up to 2000. I hate, unfortunately, that so many people hated me on the East Coast that I was scared of the traffic going to D.C. when she was offering free classes, that I never had the moment to go over there and actually sit in one of her classes, and therefore even that much more enhanced my ability to climb the tree of life and become manifestation and manifest things into existence. It's not a thing of utopia. It's a thing of manifestation, and with the right meekness and discipline, we shall, at the Great Pyramids that they still trying to discover that was built with people's minds, and we still can do that today if we become disciplined people as the blueprint that is left before us. So again, I yield, and have a great day, both of you men.
Oh, all right, Nicole. Thank you very much. Hang in there, young lady. That's VGQ. And Mr. Fuller, before we let her go, for those of that are new to the program, could you quickly explain what VGQ is?
Victims Guaranteed Qualification. Victims Guaranteed Qualifications. Victim of what? Victim of white supremacy. And you're guaranteed that you are qualified if you're a victim of white supremacy. You're guaranteed, according to the compensatory code, which is something we all make up. According to the code, you're guaranteed that you are qualified to say anything about race, racism, and or counter-racism. Why are you guaranteed the qualification of saying whatever you want to say about those three things? because you are a victim of racism. Victims guarantee qualification. As a victim of the system of white supremacy, you are automatically, by being a victim, qualified to say whatever you choose to say about anything connected with race, racism, and or counter-racism, which means being against racism. Anything that you want to say, you're guaranteed that qualification. And it doesn't say you're guaranteed you can get away with what you say without being harmed, but you're guaranteed that you're qualified to say it. Nobody can say you're not qualified and you're a victim of it. Anything that you're a victim of, you're qualified to talk about it from the victim's viewpoint. Nobody can speak for you like you can speak for yourself about how you're being harmed. It's a very personal thing. Like everything, really, in the code book. It's personal and it's universal at the same time. But what you say, now it doesn't say what you do now, but you're guaranteed the qualification. You're qualified to say anything, just like Neely Fuller. I say what I want to say. Now, you can shut me up after I say it, but I'm going to say what I want to say.
Yes, sir.
About anything dealing with race, racism, and or counter-racism, and I'm qualified to do it because I'm the victim. That's why it's called VGQ.
Yes,
Victims Guaranteed Qualification. I made that up. Why? Because nobody else made it up, so why not make it up?
Why not? Yes, sir. All right. So there you have it. For those that are new, and you need to get the book, which explains all that, at producejustice.com. And speaking of new, and thank you, Nicole. Thank you, honey. Appreciate it. I guess I can say honey without getting in trouble. Anyway, new caller alert. We're going to go to Queens, New York. Got my man Keith on the line. Keith, new caller. You are on with Mr. Fuller. What is your question?
Good morning, Mr. Bobby, Mr. Fuller.
Good morning.
I just wanted to ask Mr. Fuller, could he explain the importance of having a will?
Oh, yeah. Mr. Fuller?
The importance of having a will,
yes, sir,
is because it's important to have a will. Why? Because you have something that you want to go to someone else when you are no longer here. You're going to leave behind some things, most likely. And you may have a desire that someone who is still here after you have died gets those things that you leave behind. You're talking about things that you leave, physical things. You were a physical body. Somebody's going to have to handle your body, so that's got to be, you should have a will for that. Who is going to handle your body? The funeral home is going to answer the phone if you call by phone and say, well, we'll pick up the body, but where do we go to pick it up? That's somebody who is moving around is going to have to do that. You're not moving around, not on your own will. You're dead. So you want somebody, even starting with the handling of your body. Who's going to do it? And then what about the other things that you left behind? You have 3 or 4 very expensive watches, $2,000 a piece. You just may, and you may not, have somebody in mind that they may appreciate getting a $2,000 watch. They may immediately sell it and get what they can for it, or they may keep it. But you like for them to have it. Well, if you like for them to have it, you better put that in writing. Marcia, your cousin, will get that expensive watch that was given to you by your aunt when she passed away, or maybe before she passed away. She gave it to you physically, which is a very convenient way of doing it, by the way. When you think that you're getting ready to go, that way you may not have to have a will if you just tell everybody, or if you're going to have some things you're going to give people, give it to them just before you go if you got time, to give it to them before you go, because you're going to make a big mess for somebody else. And this is the main point I want to make. You leave here without a will, it's going to be a big headache for somebody else. That's one of the main reasons.
Yes,
and
sir.
You may not want your grandmother to have that headache of trying to sort out your affairs when she probably doesn't know what your affairs are. She's struggling trying to remember her own affairs. Your grandmother, you may leave here before her. You're black. That happens a lot. You leave here before your grandmother leaves, because your grandmother wasn't always in the trouble you're always in.
All righty. Well, Keith, I see where you've gone, but it is important to have a will. Matter of fact, we discussed that in one of the shows in August of 2022. I think that was the second time that Mr. Fuller has discussed the importance of having a will. And there are, I know we don't like to talk about that. I know I don't, but it's something necessary to do. But there are many sites available for you to do that. And I believe, Mr. Fuller, you said that, you could write it down on a piece of paper. You don't necessarily have to go through an attorney. But didn't you mention something about that?
Yes. I mean, and some people have been known to write a will at the last minute, which is not the best time because your mind is not too clear, most likely when you're dying. Write it on the back of a cereal box.
Yeah.
All of my possessions, worldly possessions, go to my cousin Mac Jones of such and such and such a Peachtree Street, Atlanta, Georgia, if that's the case. And just sign your name to it and put a date on it, and have somebody witness it and sign their name to it. And it's on a piece of torn off piece of a newspaper. But you present that to the judge. And the person who signed it as a witness, as one person or two people, say, yeah, I remember signing that at his hospital bed. He said he didn't have time to talk to no lawyer and didn't have no money to pay one. But that's what he wrote, and he gave it to me and told me that if he died, brother, that present that to the family or whatnot, give it to them and let them present it to the judge. And I've heard that it's been accepted if nobody contested it. So, that's his signature, all right. Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyway, there are a lot of things that you want to do your research on that. If you have to contact a lawyer, you can, because I don't think you necessarily want to go through probate. But anyway, you may want to do that. But good question.
That can be a headache.
Yeah, that could be a real headache. Don't be a stranger. Okay, we're going to try to wrap it up. George, Toronto. I'm going to ask everybody to be brief because we are running out of show. Okay, George, go ahead, Toronto.
Oh, hi, Mr. Bobby. Hi, Mr. Fuller. I was just thinking about the beginning of the show when Mr. Fuller said, asked the question if why haven't the smartest black people solved the race problem?
Yes, sir.
And I think because we are not smart. That's why we haven't solved the problem. But we can get smart by creating codes that solve problems in all 9 areas of people activity. And when we make replacing racism our main priority, then I think that we will become smarter.
Okay.
So that's my my VGQ. And the question for Mr. Fuller is, Mr. Fuller, I've heard you say before that the seeds of the destruction of the system of racism, white supremacy, is its wickedness. Is that true? And have you found that to be true?
So, well, I could say that, and I have said that in one form or another, but I've also said the seeds of the destruction of the system of white supremacy is built right into the system itself. We just have to know how to use, I call it political jujitsu, meaning you use your opponent's strength against them. I do that with the compensatory code. That's what the counter-racist code, the textbook, is about. They allow me to write. The white supremacists allow me to write. So I'm taking their language and giving it new definitions. The same language that the white supremacists use. I'm not trying to come up with a new language by coming up with a new language, because the new language is the old language that's been given to me. But I'm giving it definitions that are designed to do what? To find the truth in that language, find the lies in that language, and turn that language into revealing the truth. Same language. Same words. But just rearranging them so that the same words that the racists gave me and told me I had to learn, I can take those same words and use those same words against the racists, with them standing right there watching me do it.
Okay.
Political jujitsu. Using your opponent's strength against them. They have great strength in their language.
All righty. Thank you, George. Appreciate your call. Anthony in Buffalo. Let's see if we can get you in here real quick. Anthony, go ahead with Mr. Fuller.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Anthony, go ahead.
Yes, can you hear me? Hello?
Anthony, you're on.
Yes, I'm here. Hello.
You're on. What is your question, sir?
Okay. I wanted to ask Mr. Fuller about, he makes a point a lot of times. He says there's two types of black males. You can be gay or you can turn into a monster, meaning like you'll kill other black people and do horrible things. Mr. Fuller, have you noticed that there's a third type of black male, a black male who goes around saying how much he loves this quote unquote country, or how this system has actually done black people well, or they'll do stuff like wear American flags, and they call themselves a black conservative, and it seems like all of the white people love them.
Now, have I observed that?
Yes, that's what I've observed.
The answer is yes. I observed the same thing probably that you observed. So, what's the question? That is the question?
So
have I observed that?
Well, yes, and you've always said that black males have two choices. So do black males now have three choices to be a quote-unquote black conservative and agree with everything that white people say?
Well, I haven't said that because I don't remember ever saying that because I don't know what a black conservative is. I would have to ask the person who says that he is a black conservative. I would have to ask that person. That's the codified procedure. That's why we need a code. If a black person came to me and say, I am a black conservative, I would say, what is that? What does that mean? What does a black conservative do that a person who is not a black conservative does not do? What does a black conservative do that a black person who is not a black conservative does not do?
Good question.
See, that's a question I would ask.
Yes, sir.
See, when a person comes to you and gives you a title for them, you say, what does that title mean? You can just ask it, keep it simple that way. Don't make the question convoluted because the person may not understand the question. You just say, what is a black conservative? And don't interfere with the answer while they're talking.
Yes, sir.
Just wait for them to tell you. And then if you have a question about their answer, ask that question.
Okay.
Because you may not understand the answer. Like
All right.
do on this program every time I'm on the program. I always say I didn't understand the question, rather. You know, could you repeat the question? Or say give me the question another way. Because I have to understand the question. Otherwise we get what? Confusion.
Kind of confusion.
And confusion is deadly.
All right. Thank you, Anthony from Buffalo. Now, we're going to try to get these last two questions in, George, and then RT. We're going to try to get you in here. All right, George from New York, quickly.
Hi, Mr. Fuller. I wanted to ask, what are some of the smartest things that a black male can do in his 30s?
What are some of the
smartest things? What are some of the smartest things that a black male can do in his 30s?
In his 30s?
Yes.
He does whatever it does to solve a problem. In any age. 10 years old. If there's a problem, you solve it. If you're 10 years old. If you're 30 years old. If you're 140 years old. Problem, solution. Problem, solution. There's a solution to every problem. You just figure out what the solution to the problem is, and you solve it. That's it.
That's it.
For anybody,
all right.
Anywhere on the planet, any age, has nothing to do with age. It has to do with solving the problem.
Okay. There you have it, George. Thank you. Thank you for your call. Okay, last call right here. RT, I didn't think we was going to get you in, but you're in with Mr. Fuller. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, Dr. Fuller, when I see a lot of black and white couples on TV commercials, is it black people making those decisions that they're going to be black and white couples on TV commercials, or are the white supremacists making those decisions? And if the white supremacists are making the decisions that they're going to be black and white couples on TV commercials, what's the reasoning behind that?
To give the strength, greater strength, to the system of white supremacy. Anything that a white supremacist does in the system of white supremacy, it is designed. They're the most precise people in the world. It's designed to make the system of white supremacy stronger. Anything that they do.
Anything they do.
They never do anything else other than that except they may do it by mistake when they make the system of white supremacy weaker. And when they detect that, they immediately get to it and correct
All righty. All right. Got to leave it there. I'm sorry, RT and Mr. Fuller. We're right there. We're right up against it. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We'll try to do better the next time. Thank you for listening to the show. Mr. Fuller, producejustice.com. Mr. Fuller, the last word to you.
The last word, producejustice.com. And we're not only trying to get better, we're trying to do like was said earlier in the program, we're trying to get better, make the better best.
There you go.
Because that's
Good,
how
better,
you best solve problems.
That's it. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Fuller. Thank you, Robert Sharon Moon Pie. Thank you all. Thank you, listeners. We'll see you next week. Thank you.